Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Business Brunch. We are here today to bring you 30 minutes of quality content for free. Free is a good word. Today, we are featuring information on getting found, getting hired, for all those people who are looking to change jobs or actively job seeking. We've got some things to help, some tips, some tricks to help you get into the right mindset and really succeed at the interviews that you do. So we have Sarah Farmer with us today. She's going to be leading the conversation. We'll get a full introduction in a moment. Vanessa Ashworth will be joining us shortly. We were having some technical issues with the audio, the same ones from last week came back. So we're trying to resolve those, and I expect that Vanessa will be with us shortly. So as we usually do, please jump in the chat and say hello. Let us know where you're dialing in from. And if you have any specific questions related to getting found, getting hired, how to put your best self forward.
Not getting found, getting hired, staying hired. Johnny will be very upset if we use the getting found bit because
that's true. No, I was basically finding where you want to be and finding the best way to get there and getting that connection that you need with the interviewers to get where you want to go. So we will have a cracking show for you today. Drop a note in the comments and let us know where you're from. And if you don't see everybody else's comments, don't worry. We see them all, but you see the ones that are on the stream where you are connected, and we go live to about 12 or 13 different channels. So, Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. Hello, I am Sarah Farmer. I'm an executive coach, and I mainly work with senior leaders and C-suite executives, helping them develop the mindset and skills that allow them to achieve the results that they really want to achieve. You may all notice that we're in red. It wasn't done on purpose, but we are rocking the Valentine's look, I think.
Absolutely.
Our lovely Vanessa is saying hello from the outside, so I'm assuming she can't get in, which is a real pain. We've got to get this sorted. But Vanessa was also wearing red and looking glorious.
Mm-hmm.
But there's lots of people popping in to say hello. Do you want to do a quick intro of who you are in case people haven't met you before as well?
Absolutely. My name is Melinda Ward. I am the Director of Consulting Solutions and Managed Services at Helm 360. So my areas of speciality are in management, business process, realignments, and consulting. So, yeah. Of course, I've had to do lots of interviews in my day, not just for getting myself a permanent role, but also when I go to address clients, helping out with sales pitches. All of those things are interviews. And so even if you're not actively classifying yourself as a job seeker, almost everybody has to make presentations, has to win over someone to their side to get that buy-in. So this information it's focused on job seekers, but it's not solely for job seekers.
These are all
very evergreen information here.
Yeah, skills for life. It's not just a dog for Christmas. This is a skill box, a bag of tools you can use forever. It's their professional development skills, but very much with a job seeker bent on it. We've got some people coming in and saying hello.
And one of them is Vanessa.
Oh, she's here. I don't know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
No, can you hear
me?
What
are you on? What did you come in on?
Okay.
That's all right.
It's because you froze.
Anyway, let's go through the comments. And since we are in fact live now, we've got David here saying hello. We have Syed is here as well. We'll skip Vanessa because she's actually here. We've got Christian is here, and good afternoon to you as well. And we also have Donna here, and happy Monday to you. So let's crack on. And I think one of the things that people are kind of realizing now is that there's been a sudden shift in the market with the economy, hasn't there? And suddenly a lot of people are seeing the news about reductions in force, about companies reorganizing. And yeah, that causes a bit of fear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's a challenge for people to kind of mask, or well, maybe mask is the wrong word, but not project that fear when they're having conversations with others. What do you think about that, Sarah?
I think, yeah, it's a good point. And we are, we're inundated constantly, aren't we, with negative information. And actually the job scene isn't as bad as it's being made out to be, but there's obviously certain areas where there are a lot of redundancies occurring, mass redundancies, and it creates fear in the marketplace. And then other people start reacting in fear, laying off more people. And so it's really difficult. It's not pleasant. And let's not forget, we're on the back end of the COVID hangover as well, where all our anxiety levels were up for a good few years. So it's not easy out there. It's really not easy. And I'm speaking to a lot of people at the moment who are seriously distressed. Maybe they haven't been looking that long, but they weren't expecting it to take 3 months or 4 months.
Yeah.
And we've got the financial crisis going on. It's not pleasant out there at the moment. So, I mean, what I have been doing over the last 3 years is helping people individually, one-to-one, helping them, get hired. And as you just said earlier, these are all skills that we can use to keep being hired as well. So you keep your job for longer. And what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks, month, is finding a way to get this information out to more people so they can use it. And I work on what's helping people get jobs is the differentiator is you, how you do you better, and manage all this stress, manage the anxiety, manage the imposter syndrome mindset, and use the right skills so that you get the yes you deserve sooner in the job you actually want.
Yeah. Do you think that when I see posts on LinkedIn and I see people, and I'm sure this carries forward to conversations, I see a lot of people really focusing on themselves. Hire me. I need a job. I've got good skills. You should hire me. Do you think that's the right approach, or do you think there's a better way to kind of resonate with a potential hiring manager?
Oh my gosh, the $1 million question. I think the way some people do it is brilliant. I think there are part of what I do is helping people manage how they get their information out, which comes from the mindset and the communication skills and how they're doing it. Some people are, in my opinion, are getting it wrong, and they're sounding desperate and needy because they are desperate. And I really feel for them. But the problem with that is, if you think about what hiring managers want to need and future employees want to need, is they want somebody who is confident that they can trust, and that doesn't leak. If anyone who's watched this show before will know I talk about emotional leakage a lot. That isn't leaking the vibes that you want. So I wouldn't say don't do it. I'm not in one of those camps that said it's totally wrong. How you do it. And I tell you, someone who did it very well, or has done it very well, is Vanessa. She's not obviously with us right now, but Vanessa's done it well. She shared her CV in a really impactful, brilliant way. And so, yeah, I'd be a little bit careful. But then, do you know what? Some people are desperate, and they'd make desperate measures. And and all we've got to do out there is support them and just send that, like the post, comment on the post. Somebody out there will see these people and help them.
Yes, and I think being the one to bring the solutions and to demonstrate the solutions, and if you're thinking, well, what solutions? To be looking at the job profiles that you want to be in, and then showing, not just copy pasting like a CV on LinkedIn, but saying, here's a case study, here's an example of how I solved this problem, in a few words.
Exactly.
And that can also help remind you of what you do well and what you are good at, and as well as sharing your brilliance with others. So that, if you flip it around, think about how, as a hiring manager or as someone conducting any sort of screening interview, whether it's for filling a role internally or whatever, if you're talking to someone and they're saying, I'm aware that this can be a problem in your team, in your industry, in your department, and here's what I've done to fix it before, that's a really powerful message. And especially if you can show that empathy and show that awareness even from coming from personally a place of stress and a place of nervousness, if you can project that,
Yeah,
I think that's it can reap dividends.
I think it's a really, you make a great point, and it's absolutely spot on. Is what are you telling people and why? It comes down to the intent, doesn't it? So
Yes.
although what I do isn't necessarily based on how you show up better on LinkedIn or how you write a better CV, I don't do that. But everything I do helps people show up better on LinkedIn and make sure their CV is actually taking them where they want to go. Although, I'm not involved in writing them or optimizing LinkedIn profiles. That's not my bag, but it tends to happen because the more confident you are, the better that gets. But you're right. Share how you've helped people tell stories. People love stories and help them get to know you. But yeah, I've got to be a little bit careful out there what we're leaking out. There's also this thing about be authentic. If you're stressed, tell people you're stressed. Do you know what? I think that might be going a little bit far the other way. But anyway, you want to be showing up as your best self.
Well, I mean, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm so stressed, this is awful," I mean, that obviously there's a place for that on other social media platforms, but on LinkedIn and when you're in a professional platform, instead of saying you're so stressed, what can be more positive is to say, how are you managing that? What's your proactive way?
Yeah, exactly.
Of dealing with stress, of dealing with uncertainty, of creating a plan and working to it. And that, you're getting the message across, that, hey, you're available, but you're also getting the message across that, hey, you have the ability to be aware of your circumstances and fix them. And a lot of companies need that.
That you're showing this can-do attitude, aren't you? Which is, it's really hard because we get to be authentic, be yourself, say this, don't say that. Yeah. I would just think about what your intent is and what mark you want to leave on the world in that moment when you're doing this thing. And none of it is irreversible, but remember, anything we do online is there forever. Just want to say a quick hello to people.
Absolutely.
Hello to Donna.
Let's go through, because Donna had said hello.
And
happy Monday. And then just after that, we had Matthew joined.
Hello. Amichi's in.
And Amici is here. And who else?
We've got a mystery user.
LinkedIn user, first-time person joining. Now, we can't see your name, so apologies for that. That's due to the setting on LinkedIn within the security, where your security has got you in stealth mode, basically. So Restream doesn't have permission to, which is our hosting platform, doesn't have permission to show your name. So we're not being rude. We just can't see you.
And David said visibility is key, which is what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, he's absolutely right. And Vanessa's saying, sorry, the tech is letting it down. But we know you're there. We are going to get you back on soon. And so just keep your comments coming in. Okay. Shall we get into my the 3 top tips?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is like, okay, so people have an idea of what they want to achieve. How can they do it?
Okay.
What are good starting points, and what are good tips?
Okay. So in the sequence of events that I take people through, or the program that I run, there are so many things in there. So I'm trying to distill it down into what can you take away straight away. And the first thing is just I want to talk about mindset, which is no surprise because obviously I'm very into mindset first, action second. But if you think about what hiring managers need from you, it's they need to like you and trust you. And you need to have the necessary skills to do the job, but actually it's the liking and trusting that makes the decision. So if there's 2 or 3 of you who've all got the skills, they'll go for the person that they like and trust more. So it's really important. And that's why people are getting down to those last 2 and not getting to be the one, because there might be a bit of a mismatch. There's a lot to do with communication styles as well. So we need to look into that. But let's have a think about your mindset first. You need to be able to show up with the confidence and the clarity and the conviction that you're the one, but without the ego. There's no space for overconfidence and there's no space for underconfidence. We need you to be just right. It's like the 3 bears looking for porridge. It's got to be it's one bear. Oh, I can't remember. Some bears.
Yeah, it's one bear.
Goldilocks
is looking for the.
Goldilocks
is looking for snacks.
So Goldilocks is looking for the perfect person to eat or something. Anyway, before I go completely off track, so mindset is key. It leads everything that you do. Everything you're thinking, everything you're feeling will lead to everything that you do, everything you say, everything you don't do, everything you don't say, and you're leaking all the time. So what I'd like you to think about, first of all, is what are you thinking? What are you feeling? They are different. Thinking leads to feeling leads to thinking. And what's that making you do and say or not do and say? So
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. But I think a lot of people might hear this leaking concept, if they haven't heard your discussions previously, like, what do you mean? What? Because somebody will say, "Well, I showed up to an interview and I know I said all the right things, but how do you know if you're leaking?" I guess would
okay,
be a word.
really good question. An example that is probably the best way to describe this is when I speak, and this has happened on several occasions, people will say to me, I got so desperate that I was in this interview and I went for this job. I didn't really want it. And I didn't even get that one. Now,
Yeah.
what happens in that is when you dig down and dig deep is they knew they didn't really want to be in that job, which meant everything that they said and did was led by that thought, because instead of thinking this would be a great interim, and I'd like to do it, because they were thinking I could do this with my eyes closed, you should want me, that kind of mindset. When you really dig into that, you can see the mindset that was leading that conversation. And that's this emotional leakage is you cannot hide really what you're thinking and feeling. It comes out. There's something called mirror neurons in our brains. They're in mine, they're in yours, they're in everybody's, and they are picking up information from who's in front of us. Yeah, I can see yours working now. And it's not what you say and what we can see, it's everything else. We're picking up, our brains are incredible. So in the brains of the receiver, the hiring manager or someone who's doing a screening interview with you or something, they are constantly picking up what you're really thinking and feeling. They don't really know what it is, but they will feel a discomfort, a disconnect. And bearing in mind what they really want is to trust you and like you, that kills it. So this is why people are getting responses like, well, yeah, you got down to the last two, but you just weren't the right fit.
Yeah.
It's because there was something that was triggered. It could be a communication disconnect, a style, but it's often to do with the fact that you didn't really want that job in the first place. So yeah, there's so much going on. I hope that makes sense. But please, if you don't understand what I mean, come and ask me about leakage, because we're doing it all the time.
Yeah, I think
It.
I think that there's some really good points in there, and I had another thought and it just escaped me. But I think one of the things that, yes, I got it again,
Well done.
that you had
Your mirror
mentioned,
neurons got all messed with then, didn't they?
they did. As Vanessa says, mindset is everything, and it absolutely is. Um, and I think one of the things I wanted to kind of focus on that you had just said was talking about communication styles, because a lot of times when a lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm going to be matching my interviewer's communication style, then I'm not going to be me. Like, if they're really loud and extreme, then I need to be that extreme. But it's not exactly that, is it? It's more nuanced, I think.
It's a really, really good point. I wasn't going to talk about communication styles today, but actually it is one of the biggest problems or opportunities that we have when we're in an interview situation. So if we don't communicate in the same way as somebody else, in the way that we do our communication, if we're faster, if we're slower, if we're louder, if we're more quiet, if we're more declarative, if we're more introvert, extrovert, if there's a difference, there's a potential for bias, because similarity bias is at play. So the point of matching or mirroring, or at least attempting to meet someone where they're at, this isn't about turning yourself inside out and becoming something you're not. This is literally finding one or maybe two things that are different between us. You speak much slower than I do. And when we talk outside of work, if I'm actually working with you or something else, I would slow it down when I was getting to know you, and you might speed it up a bit.
Yeah.
But we don't stay like that forever, because once you've built that relationship and you've built that level of trust, you can then be more you more of the time. The only time we dial up or dial down our communication differences is when we want to help someone buy into us, build trust, and or when there's high tension. And let's face it, that's when you're in an interview, high tension, and it's a new environment. Those are the times you want to do it. But you also want to be able to show your true self as well, because the next thing is, well, if I adapt completely, then I'm going, and they accept me as that adapted person, I'm going to go into an environment that doesn't suit me. So this is why you only do it when it matters, which is at the start, when you're building trust. And then when you're trying to help people hear what you have to say. You know, if I'm talking to someone who's really quiet and I come in as my mad expressive self, guess what they do?
Whoa.
Switch right off. And vice versa, if someone wants to influence me and they're really slow and really quiet, I'm done. You know, speed it up.
You might be like, get to the point and completely disengage.
You've got to look at who's in front of you and be able to adapt enough to help them like you and trust you. And then you can bring it back. But remember to keep bringing it back in when you need to.
Yeah, I've got, there was a comment that just came in where Rob is saying, hello, Rob. He's saying, you know, Sarah, it's often those who don't want the role who get offered it. Is it because they're not scared to challenge? It's like that converse of the, you know, where people don't want a job, they have a kind of maybe they're radiating that they don't. But in some cases, yeah, exactly. I think that can be true, can't it? That people who aren't stressed can seem really relaxed in an interview.
Thanks, Rob, for bringing that up, because Andrew McGaskill, who anybody in the job-seeking world will probably have heard of, he's been so helpful to people over the last 3 years. He did a bit of a study on people who were getting jobs. And so the ones who really wanted the job weren't getting it, and the ones who weren't that bothered were. Now, what does this tell us? Well, for a start, you're going in with a different mindset, which is I'm here to explore. And that's one of the things I was going to say next is be clear on what you want and go in with the intent to explore and show up as a partner in that interview, not as a subordinate.
Yes.
People who are desperate for a job find that very hard because their mindset's going, you've got to have the job. I'll do anything you say. I wouldn't dare ask that question just in case.
Yeah.
The opposite, the antithesis of that is but the good one, not the complete extreme overconfidence, is it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to talking to you. I'd love to find out this. What's going to happen as a result of this? What do you need to see from me? It shows confidence. And remember, that's what people want. They want confidence without the ego. They want this clarity. They want to be able to hear you. And whilst you're giving off fumes or leakage, I've gone to fumes now, don't know why, of crap, I really need this and really want it. I'm about to run out of money. The receiver's brain going, what's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? I don't trust you. Oh my gosh, this feels uncomfortable, because it is uncomfortable. So Rob's question is spot on. I'm now echoing. She's back.
Sorry. Thought it
which
could
is
work,
why
but
it's so important to get the mindset right. But so you've got to work on the mindset. If that isn't right, if it's too much or too little, if it's not just right, if it's not Goldilocks, you know, porridge level, then perfect porridge level, then we're in trouble. Be clear on what you want and why. Still echoing. Be clear on what you want and why. Yes.
Yeah. We've got some comments here, and now this one, let's see, I'm struggling to, there we go. Being at ease with yourself, as Amici is saying, being at ease with yourself makes interviews easier. Absolutely. Not just for you, but for the interviewer, who may well have not got settled themselves for a variety of reasons that have not been shared with you.
Exactly. So this is the reason that I help people calm down and co-lead that interview situation is for that very reason. Is we assume the interviewers are ready and raring and really loving it. Most of them are not that good at it. Some of them are really good at it, but they're going in with their mindset, which is, oh God, are you going to lie to me? Is this going to be difficult? They've got all these issues that they're coming in with. So if you don't go in and calm their tension, they're at high tension. And when people are at high tension, they can't listen. It's difficult to like you. It's difficult to trust you. I'm just a bit conscious about time, so I just
Yeah,
want to.
yeah. I was going to say there.
Can I just quickly run through these other two things, just
Yeah,
so I
sounds good. Yes, we've got about 5 minutes left, and for anybody who is asking about replay or curious about that, yes, once the show is finished, it will be available on replay on whichever channel you're about to watch it on.
Thank
But
you.
anyway, let's
So,
wrap up with these tips.
yeah, first thing, mindset. Second thing, be clear on what you want. A lot of people get muddled, which means they muddy the waters, and they start going for things they don't really want because they feel desperate and time's running out, and all these things are then leading into the mindset problem. I appreciate not everybody can wait. You may need to go and get a job, but if you're going to do that, accept that's what you're going to do and do it on purpose. Don't go in with the mindset of, I'm better than this, I'm just taking a lesser job, because that bites you in your butt very quickly afterwards. And I work with so many people who are dissatisfied within 4 or 5 weeks of being there. And then you start the whole process again. So be clear on what do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? Your why, I guess, is really key.
Yeah.
And if you are full of confidence in yourself and that you believe you can do it, mindset is right, you will go out and get that, which means you're wasting less time focusing on things you don't want and don't need. And the third one is about building credibility. To build trust, you need to be credible, you need to be empathetic. Credibility is about showing up appropriately.
Mhm.
So we're thinking clothes, how you speak to people, how we're not doing a lot of one-to-one interviews face-to-face still, but just show up as they'd expect you to. Don't stand out for the wrong reasons. Look for commonality. There is nothing like commonality to build trust. Do some research on these people. Find something. Maybe there's someone you know. Maybe there's somewhere you worked. Maybe there's a place you lived, a place you visited. I don't care. It is, as long as it's done well and doesn't sound trite, it's perfect. And
Yeah,
don't be
and as Kate says, so many interviewers have not been trained in how to interview, so
no.
they're also nervous. So
Yes.
giving them that common ground to start talking about is actually a gift, and they will appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the really lovely things you can do with the empathy piece, which is another part of building trust, is you can, when you start, say, look, how are you feeling about the interviews? Turn it, have a nice chat. Remember, they're maybe as anxious as you are. This is valuable time for them and for you. So, and actually, that's quite a nice thing to say, is how are you feeling about today's interview? I know your time's valuable, so's mine. How can we make it the best for both of us? What a great way to start. And
Very collaborative in approach, which is what everybody wants in their company, isn't it? Is someone who's collaborative and, a problem solver and able to take control of awkward situations.
But you've got to be confident to do that. And I get that's hard when you're in a high, you're worried about money and everything else. So competency, don't be afraid to share your competency. And as you said earlier, you can do that way before the interview. So what I'm talking about isn't just showing up in the interview, before, during, after. All of this matters. How we follow up, how we pre-interview. Share your experience in a way that tells stories and inspires people. And then the last bit is this intent, which I've just said, is show up in control, but not being controlling. I'm here for me as I'm here for you. How can we work together on this and make sure that this is the best use of both of our times? And what will happen as a result? What I'd love to get out of this today is, the power of doing that. And I've taught people to say that, and it has changed the game. They've got job interviews. Some within like 4 weeks have had four job offers, purely by changing the mindset and what comes out as a result. We've got a minute left, haven't we?
Yeah, and I would say, brevity is also the soul of wit. So if you've got key points that you want to make bullet points, make a note card or something, not writing out a script, but just key points. And if you feel yourself starting to ramble a bit, come back to your key points and kind of don't go too far down the garden path before you do that. And even if you're in a face-to-face interview, if you have a few notes, as long as it's just some bullet points on a single card or something, that just shows you were thinking about it. Just say, look, there were a few things I wanted to be sure to address today, so I've written them down.
Okay. Yeah, I've just seeing some people coming in. Matthew said one thing he's saying today is genuineness. I thought it was geniusness, genuineness.
Both,
Yeah,
both work.
genuine, but show up as your best genuine self. And remember, if you stop focusing on yourself so much and focus on the interviewer and help them have a good time, guess what happens? It does all boil down to self-belief. And going back to Rob's question, it's about valuing what you have to offer the world.
Mhm.
And if you aren't valuing yourself, guess what? Nobody's going to see your value either. So it's all around what's going on in here.
Absolutely.
So
And we are out of time.
Oh, can I just add one
But
thing?
Vanessa's got the one last point.
Sorry, can I just add one thing? If you want some help from me for free, if you go onto my website, I'll drop the link into this post later. There are 4 exercises and 4 videos that go with the exercises. Focus on this stuff. It's for free. It's called the Interview Success Accelerator. I look really young because it was done 3 years ago. My hair's shorter. Other than that, it's still great. Yeah, go and have a go at that, and I'll keep in touch if I can help you some more. What did Vanessa say?
And Vanessa says, because she's been here, although trying to work out technical issues behind the scenes, that we have to treat the interview as just a meeting. How can I help? Not some silly sharing of evidence of what you've done before. So it's not just you making like the equivalent of a photo dump on the interviewer. It's let's collaborate on this. So very
Great,
excellent
wise words. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved. We'll be back next week with another topic of brilliant
education. Watch our feeds to find out what next week's topic will be. And thank you very much for coming. Replay will be available once the show is finished.
Have a great week, everybody.
Again. Bye-bye.
Bye.